Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Amish, Vitali Z, Colton James, BG, Survive the Spin, FE Patriot, Steve, On the Level, Thomas van der Zander, Gary Hughes, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, No Smart Comments, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMails24, Unimento, M Iron26, Endless, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Young Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Links to Patreon are below this video. With that, I'll pass across to whoever is in Discord and G+, so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
I thought you weren't going live to the New Year again.
New Year's Eve, Neil. My wife's working, so effectively I already had started working at the beginning of the week anyway. And by working, I mean doing all the things that I don't normally get an opportunity to do. Because you're like, well, I'm not working today, so I'll work on something that I don't normally get to do. So I've been doing that. So when you do that, and you're like, I don't like doing this. I'd rather be working. There's a reason all these things don't get done.
Yeah, talking to a guy who hasn't worked since November 1st, I know how you feel.
Yeah, I do what I love. So being sat here now chatting to you, Neil, this is what I love doing. Producing content is what I love doing. So I can't wait to sit back down and start doing it again. That said, I've had a lovely Christmas, and who'd have thought that the TFE would turn out to be quite a laugh for us? I mean, there is serious things that we have to deal with as a consequence, but for us, over the period that it's elapsed, what a laugh. We've had great fun. Wouldn't you agree? All of the TFE people have had good fun.
Absolutely. And what did you think about Brian the other night? Coming right in, right out of the gate, proving flat earth.
Yeah, exactly. It's another example of TFE being quite good fun for us on FED. So well done, Brian. I did a little clip of it. Did you see?
No, I didn't see. You made a clip of the whatever you want to call that the other night. I haven't seen it.
Of Brian and Toon. Yeah, I did. I made a little clip.
I feel genuinely nervous to release this to the public. If you are a...
Skip on past the advert. Debated over on Modern Day Debates, and Toon presented flat Earth elevation angle measurements for proof of his globe. Absolutely epic. Check it out.
You just show flat out there.
Brian,
your
what
elevation
model is used to produce this, Brian?
Is a prediction of what will be seen as the sun circles over a flat plane. Because what you're showing here is flat plane measurements, and it is a measurement.
Just show flat out there. Brian, your elevation model is used to...
Sorry, could I address what you just said there, please?
No. Do you think there's a 24-hour circling sun in the north?
I will address that. You're after just making claims there now that need to be addressed. So if you're going to make claims that need to be addressed, expect them to be addressed.
All right, I'll hold this up so everybody can see.
If you wanted to just ask me a question,
what I'm talking about.
Then you should just ask me a question. It's not a model. There is no globe model. It doesn't exist, right? Sorry, is there some reason why you're ignoring me?
Is there some reason why you're making
stupid claims? Reason why you're ignoring me?
I use the globe model.
Come and debate you, No,
the globe model was used to produce this.
You asked. That's a flat Earth. You just showed flat Earth there.
Brian, the globe model was used to produce this. Brian, are you ignorant of this?
It's for some reason that's not a scientific model. Whatever you're showing,
I don't care what you say about it, Brian. I use the globe model to produce this.
You don't know what a scientific model is, Tim.
Brian, I don't care what your stupid opinion is about.
Excuse me. It's for some reason. It's for some reason.
I hate to do this. I just muted you guys because I do need to have order. So, reminder beforehand, everybody agreed we're going to talk about whether or not flat Earth is still tenable after the final experiment. So, just to be sure we're on track on that topic. And then...
Thank you, James. Right, he's claiming a scientific model, which his globe is not. He doesn't have a globe model. There is no way for him to insert natural science into what he's claiming. And what he's showing there is on his page is not natural science. That would be measurements. So.
Yeah, this isn't measurements. This is predictions based on the globe models.
So you just showed something there and you said it was a globe model and predictions off a globe model. No, there is no globe model. What that is a prediction of what will be seen as the sun circles over a flat plane. Because what you're showing here is flat plane measurements. And it is a measurement of what will be seen as the sun circles over a flat plane. Because what you're showing here is flat plane measurements of 360 degrees over time.
The shadow will be at this angle.
Has it been seen
and
before?
The shadow will be this length. Brian, the globe model is used to produce this.
Your elevation is used.
I just muted you.
McToon measures Earth flat. McToon looks like a fruitcake. Shut. Channel. You're shut.
Outstanding.
Yeah, like I say, it's been a bit of a giggle. So while I'm watching this,
meet Teddy, a picky eater, and Roxy,
I was looking for a
who
clip
eats just about anything.
It would have everything encompassed with what my impressions of modern day debate are in terms of how they dealt with Brian. Now, there was plenty of examples further on that were more egregious, but not combined with Brian telling McToon he's waving flat earth measurements at him, Toon saying I don't care, and ignoring him all within the space of about 5 minutes. And then when Brian's winning, getting shut down by the moderator. So I had to find something that encompassed all of that. Now, I wasn't going to, and I still haven't, to be honest, trawled through the bit where Brian said it got quite juicy, and so did Paula. They're both like, in the bit where they're doing with the super chats, I'm like, I didn't watch that. I was watching it at my sister's, like with kids screaming, all running around and stuff. So it wasn't the easiest thing to take in, but what I did take in was up to about the super chats. But apparently there's more meat on that bone that I haven't even watched yet. But I wanted an all-encompassing clip that would gather up everything I wanted to summarise. Now, had I been in a more quieter environment, all the things that were said on screen in text, I'd have said, like verbally, but I couldn't do it. I was somewhere else. You know what I mean? So it's just me and my iPad. This is what I'm talking about when I'm saying, even when you're not working, you find yourself doing the things that you, strictly speaking, call work that earn you your money because you just like doing them. So I couldn't help myself when I was listening to it. I'm like, I've got to find a bit that's all encompassing, and that's what I managed to trim down to about 2 or 3 minutes that summarise everything beautifully.
Yeah, that was outstanding, and I take my hat off to you, Nathan, because you're doing what you love to do to earn money. I do what I do because that's the only way I know how to earn money. So hats off to you, man. That was a great. However you want to, whatever you say that this is, we go by your sisters or whatever. That's outstanding. You got everything there.
Well, thank you. I thought so myself. I know. I am ace. No, but you excel when you're doing things that you love, right? And this is the things that I do actually enjoy doing. Now, it's been interesting because I'll give you the example that I want to move on to while we're still in 2024, as you pointed out at the beginning of the show. Banjo, right? I was following along, quite intrigued to see what we're calling the dust in the air after the math of the TFE. We're calling it dust that we look on from a distance, and eventually that dust will settle. But in amongst the dust, you can see what's kind of going on as you peer onward. And Banjo's been doing a good job of summarising all of that, what I'm calling dust. So I've been keeping more of an eye on Banjo. I was subscribed anyway, but he's been doing a really good job of clipping all that stuff and what people are generally, dealing with. Now, for the most part, I'm calling it for what it is. It's cope on the side of the flat Earth. Now, that seems to started to devolve into, well, we can still have this map. So there's a point where we need to start saying, well, no, what is that map? It's an azimuthal equidistant North Pole-centric globe projection. So maybe learn the history of how that came to fruition with the globe and how that was created. And then you can relinquish it. It's not yours. It never was. So just, give it up. It's time to. Now, regardless of whether or not you want to, this is the interesting bit for us, accept that they observed a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, and therefore for us, it's a kind of very interesting or a shrug of your shoulders, whichever you pick. It doesn't really matter. Yeah? Earth still measured flat. The measurements have started to come out like Toon was just waving at us.
Yeah, but that's up for debate.
At the time I was like, let's wait till the measurements come out because they'll all be flat Earth measurements, won't they? And exactly as planned, they've started releasing elevation angle measurements and saying that the globe predicts them. Oh, what, these flat Earth angles? Wow, who knew? Anyway, that's now starting to filter into us, and we can start utilising that, which is great. But we can do that and say, okay, well, with this in mind, you could say we don't have to accept that the sun is or isn't anything. You're just looking at the measurements that they're presenting. Okay, you're saying it's the sun that's creating this, and if you like, I don't even have to mention it. I can just say what you're presenting, ipso facto, are flat Earth elevation angle measurements. Like it or lump it. You don't care what you say it proves. That's what they are. Now, the same applies on the other side of the coin, which is where I want to talk to Banjo. If you just deny it, and no, I still don't believe, it's still in question, there's enough ambiguity to question whether or not there is or isn't a 24-hour Antarctic sun. And you go, okay, I can sit on that fence too. Makes no difference either. I can go, very interesting, or just shrug my shoulders. Again, I can take my pick. Yeah? And I can entertain that too, because it makes no difference to me. Now, it only becomes a problem when you start devolving into the old ways that we've just hopefully had a reset from, right? Beneficial in many ways to us. Suddenly all these argument points that we'd put forward and been called grifters and scammers for, suddenly everyone realises just how important that was. No, we weren't trying to scam you. Yeah? But what do you know? Now you're all turning on the people we've spent, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 in some cases years telling you about their deceit, their lies, their use of these globe projection. We've been telling you. Right? Great. For me, the audience has risen, the view count's risen, the watch time's risen, the subscribers, it's all good, it's all positive for me. But let's get back down to brass tacks, right? We're about to go into 2025. What's the actual issue here? I incorrectly said we can now dispense with the flat Earth side of false dichotomies. No, we can't. The affirming the consequence still stands because of the ambiguity that's been raised by that dust cloud. So in the dust cloud, people have gone, hang on, if there's no 24-hour sun because it's ambiguous whether or not they did or didn't capture it, and I'm going to say they didn't, look at all the fakery. Therefore, if there is a lack of 24-hour sun in Antarctica, it confirms the azimuthal equidistant projection and therefore a flat Earth. And what do you know? There's so much fakery there can't be a 24-hour sun. That's why the fakery, therefore a azimuthal equidistant flat Earth. You're like, no, this is still an affirming the consequent. You just don't want to let it go. Well, the linchpin to flat earthers letting it go is them understanding what the map they're actually holding up, that's TFE, holding up in false dichotomy, so that you can fail. Now you haven't, it's just a globe projection, who cares? It's inconsequential to you. Now, if it is an observation of the sun, very interesting. Now, maybe it balls up some of the processes that have been used to date to navigate the flat plane that we dwell atop when we measure things like the sun for navigation. Let's see how it pads out with actual measurements. And what do you know? We're immediately measuring it flat. Thanks, Toon. Yeah, that's where we're going to go. We need to get the flat earthers off that affirming the consequent, because it's basically just going to still get held up in false dichotomy until they relinquish it. That's it.
They don't understand it. My brother don't understand it either. I explained it to him 5 times. He still says, I still don't know what you're talking about. And then people are asking for the third option when you tell them it's a false dichotomy.
Yeah, so in some ways it's back like with the Black Swan, where you've got to get back in day with the false dichotomy being assumed. Like, if we assume the azimuthal equidistant projection, okay, it's a globe projection. Let's just shake them up with a different means. If they don't want to understand the fallacious nature of the logic, which it isn't, being employed, and attack it from a different angle, Neil. We've got plenty. We didn't know it'd be stacked like this false dichotomy with an affirming the consequent on both sides 6 months ago, or however long it was before TFE raised their head. They didn't lay it out. We had to figure it out and pick it apart for ourselves, structure it how it would need to be utilised after the fact, so we could start labelling it before the fact, which is what we've done. But prior to that, who cares? We'd still have the same critiques of the azimuthal equidistant globe projection. We'd still detail how it came to fruition, with points projected in an azimuthal North Pole-centric fashion, based on a globe built with latitude measurements and star measurements that are flat, by way of the equatorial plane. So we just point that out 6 months ago. We start pointing it out again in a couple of years, Neil, because we've got to go back to basics. People are going to start to understand not necessarily what fallacies are, because necessarily they won't absorb that like you found with your brother, but they might absorb science, because that's what's being peddled. That's what it's being called. So let's go there. Huey's absolutely right, and I agree. You know, me saying, oh, well, we maybe need to go back to even more basic stuff. Like, nah. The only way you'd achieve that is by having a good grounding from the offset, like maybe a childhood of logic, and therefore a comprehension after the fact of logical fallacy. You don't necessarily need to give that to people to point out individual arguments and how they fail. You can explain it at a higher level with the fallacy for the people who can understand it, but ultimately you just want to break it down from within. Okay, so let's say they don't see a 24-hour sun. What are you trying to confirm with that? That the azimuthal equidistant projection is real, therefore Earth is flat? Well, it's a globe projection. You're confirming that the globe projection works. So we'll shake them up in multitudes of different ways moving forward into 2025, Neil, but with the overarching idea that we'll have to go back to basics. The housekeeping questions become more relevant than ever.
Absolutely.
The amount of times I've said to people when they've said, no guns. I got this from QE, actually, when we were discussing it. It was him that tipped me to this. He didn't explicitly tell me to do this, but he was just pointing out what we actually talk about is housekeeping. And you're like, yeah, of course it is. So when people go, where are the guns? Now, half the time they're on my side, so it's hard to know how to react. Some of them you just go, I don't know, from that simple comment, whether you're saying it, look, you're an idiot, Nathan, or haha, look at those globe-head idiots looking for cope with guns. You don't know which side they fall. So in many responses, you can't make those responses. That's what I've been doing today, actually. And yesterday.
99% of the times, Nathan, it's going to be in our favor with the where's the guns, because from what I hear, Globers are very upset with that video that he put out, screaming, "Where's the guns, Nathan?"
Didn't know that.
And another thing I wanted to say,
Hold on, tell me. Whoa, too fast. Tell me more.
Yeah, they're upset about that. They really reprimanded him with that video. None of the Globers are happy that he's done that.
Oh, why? Because it's a clear straw man from 8 years ago that's pathetic and not part of housekeeping.
Probably.
Well, you need to find out, Neil. I'd love to know why they're dissatisfied with where are the guns. I mean, I could only speculate. I mean, obviously I have, but I'd love to know from the horse's mouth.
I'll dig deeper. But one thing I wanted to say, too, during that debate, this idiot holds up a globe and starts explaining how he took an angle, and he points on the globe and says, I took an angle from here to the sun. I mean, is anybody not getting it? Like, how?
In the UK.
Getting super chats before I've started. Go over onto the live stream. Hold on a second. I need to queue up. It's a good job somebody else, actually, because I didn't have my screen that I can read. Michael Khan. Happy New Year, FED fam. Oh, thanks, Michael. You're getting a shout out on the pre-show. I'll shout you out again on the live stream. Right, what was it you were just saying, Neil, about him talking about getting angles?
He was pointing, he held the globe up in the debate, and he's explaining to Brian, and I guess the audience, how he was here pointing his index finger on a portion of the globe and claiming, I got an angle from here to the sun. Now, if anybody can't put two and two together, that's an impossibility on that spherical object, then they're not worthy of our time.
He said, the shadow will be this angle, pointing at a flat piece of paper with elevation angle measurements marked on it. Yeah, that's right. There'll be flat earth measurements and flat earth proof that I've had to go through tediously. My second channel gets neglected in terms of the comment responses. I simply don't have the time. I do my main channel when I wake up, like pretty much before well, in fact, literally, before I've got out of bed. So I'll roll over, turn the iPad on, and start responding to messages. The first thing I do, because it's the only time I could find to tuck it in. Well, today I just stayed in bed till about 10:30, responding to the second channel messages that went back. I could only go back about 10 days, and it chewed up about 3 hours, responding to them all, pretty much saying the same thing. Here's Toon measuring the angles of a flat Earth. What do you mean, where are the guns? We measure Earth flat. You clown. Or whatever, they're all similar responses. But on that you're remarking, I've got it up on screen now. The shadow will be this angle. Yeah, right, Toon. Thanks very much. Yeah, we knew you'd measure Earth flat. There you are, measuring Earth flat. This is why it's inconsequential to us what the sun does. Because as soon as you start measuring it, you're going to give us flat Earth measurements. And there you are with them, holding them up and waving them at Brian and trying to rumpus him whilst waving them at him. You couldn't make it up. Brilliant. Epic.
Yeah, well, he actually said, I don't care about your position or something to that effect, when Brian was explaining to him that it's not a scientific model.
Yeah, I got all that in there. That was all in that one clip. That all happened within the space of about 3 minutes. So it might end up with me repeating bits of it at the beginning and end of the clip. But ultimately, it was only about 2 or 3 minutes where it all happened. It was epic.
Then later on in the debate, they get into science, and he basically claims that, it's our method, and he doesn't yield to our method of science.
Yeah, whatever. Weak.
Oh, every response from him was weak. Every one. He had no winning points. Well, we know because the globe is not real. But I wonder how the other side had viewed that. Because if they're viewing that as a win, wow.
Whatever, somebody in my chat pointed it out, this is all for globe cope. I mean, yes, the globe cope is projected onto the flat earthers like it's a flat earth failure, and some of the numpty flat earthers have accepted it as such, or felt the need that, I should defend this as not being a failure. Hence me thinking, I've got to get in touch with some of these flat earthers that are seemingly going to hang around after the dust has settled, which is great, don't get me wrong. The other thing that happened, that was something else I need to talk about with Banjo. He was like, anybody who says that they automatically assume that they have validated 24-hour sun are shills. Words to that effect. I'm like, when I consider that, I think, well, in many times up until today, since TFE, I've said words to the effect of, fine, if we have to accept that there's a 24-hour sun, we can, like I did earlier, shrug our shoulders or say that's very interesting. Either one is fine for us. It doesn't make any difference. So you go, okay, but if that means that Banjo's going to consider me a shill, no, because I can equally accept that they've faked it all. Again, it doesn't make any difference. If you present compelling evidence that they're in a tent with TVs in it, okay, fine. I'll be honest. You look at it at a glance and go, yeah, it does seem like there's a bit of a line there, like there's a demarcation between backdrop and foreground. Now, having made backdrops in the past, I could say that I did get a feeling of that when I watched it for the first time. I'm not going to lie. But at the time, if I'd have said it immediately, you get labelled as conspiratard. Now it's old news, and who cares that I've said it? Well, because it doesn't make any difference either way. That's the point. But for those who put their neck out and start saying it, it's like, what if they show that it is to be true and acceptable? And you went down there and actually validated for yourself, suddenly to be called a shill yourself? Would you feel bad? Who cares is the answer. They're still providing and will continue to provide the flat earth measurements that they all took. They started taking them immediately, levelling out scales and stuff. Yeah? Took about 15 minutes of them releasing material for me to go, here you go, there's a measuring Earth flat. Didn't take long, because that's what they'll do, and they'll continue to do it, I absolutely assure you.
Well, they have to. You know that. We all know that. They have to. Can't take measurements any other way. But the other thing also was that I was glad when Brian turned his attention off of Toon and started going after the moderator, because that was well-deserved. I was like, yeah, get his ass because he deserves it. That guy's a piece of crap. Even Mark Sargent in the chat was saying, what the heck is going on here? You got a moderator eating while they're having a debate? Where's the professionalism?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that was the other bonus thing, and props to Brian for giving us that, right? Because it is him and him putting his neck out on the line. after specifically saying I wouldn't do that. I'd want money for it. But I spoke to him about it. And why did you do it then? He's like, because this was that moment I was discussing where Toon, in this instance, is going to take this opportunity to hand wave 10 years worth of work. And I felt obligated to do it. I'm like, wow, that's weird. You felt compelled to do it. I put those words in his mouth. And he's like, well, yeah, basically agreed. He didn't disagree. I'm like, I felt the same when TFE happened. I woke up, go and do my usual routine at whatever, 6 o'clock when I'm fuzzy and the kids have just woken me up. First thing I do, respond to a few comments, and they're about TFE. So I'm like, go and sit and start making coffee and realise that there's stuff coming out about it because they're there and it's happening. So I'm like, oh, I've got to do something. How can I start the conversation rolling? So I videoed my son and published it. And I told my wife, I've got to publish something. And she's like looking at me, why do you want to publish to the Sun? Like, I've got nothing else to film. Right, I'm sat here. This is what I can film now. There it is coming up. I'm going to film it. And I'll put it in a community response. And I'll just get the ball rolling. And I'm thinking, why am I compelled to do this? And then within an hour, I was going live. And my wife happened to be travelling out to the park with the kids. So it was convenient. I'm like, oh, this is all lining up for me to do this. And like I said earlier, I'm always keen to do the things I love. And when my wife's like, well, my wife's going out, I'm here. I think it was a Sunday. I'm like, why not? Let's just go live. Brilliant. Let's do a members only stream.
It was a Sunday.
Yeah, right. How many times have I done a Sunday stream? Never. I just felt compelled to.
And look at that. If you didn't do that, you would have never got. Where's the gun?
Exactly. You knew where I was going. Right. Everything that's followed as a result of that. Well, what Brian, to bring it back on track, has just done is equally as influential. It exposed the hypocrisy. Oh, we're a neutral platform. Bullshit. No, you're not. But I wanted all of that. I think I encompassed all of that in him saying, I'm sorry, guys, I'm just going to have to mute you while Brian's winning. He's rumpusing him. Mute both of them. Oh, I say, okay, right, neutral platform it is. He's completely ignoring him at one point, literally reading a book by Karl Popper.
Yeah, that's the science part they were getting into. He was holding up a book.
Exactly. So what's Brian talking about whilst he's being ignored? And Brian says it was gifts from gods when I was cutting up that video. So it's like Brian even says it. Why are you ignoring me? Because I want to make that point while he's ignoring him and reading a book and trying to get his point across, ignoring entirely the rebuttal that's coming from Brian. So when Brian says, literally, why are you ignoring me? It's like, great, because I couldn't say it like as in a voiceover because I'm at my sister's and the kids are making a load of noise. So I couldn't do it. But Brian did it in the actual edit. I'm like, this is great, man. This is really good. Yeah, I gave him props afterwards. I gave him a call, I think. I can't remember if I actually phoned him or messaged him. Either way, I got in touch with Brian and was like, props. No, I did. I called him for a while. Spent 2 or 3 hours on the phone, actually, now. Time flies. But yeah, I chatted to him and I was like, man, you did an amazing job. And from the least likely candidate, given that he's literally declared his defiance of going on these sorts of shows to do exactly that. But in this instance, he felt compelled.
Well, that's been misunderstood. He's not going to waste his time with characters like that unless they're going to pay him. He saw that this was not a waste of time. This had to be done. Like you say, he felt compelled.
Yeah, well spotted. That's very well spotted. Yes, makes me smile. Absolutely. This didn't defy any of his ethics or his morals or his previous declarations even. Because in this instance, it was absolutely worth it. As affirmed by me immediately when I'm like, well done, Brian, that was awesome. I wasn't expecting that while I was down south, at my sister's celebrating Christmas. What an absolutely brilliant turn up. Thank you. And I told him he did an excellent job, and I don't doubt everybody else said the same to him, right?
Everybody but one person, and we'll not discuss that right now.
Who's that?
Who do you think?
McToon?
Negative.
Well, McToon thought he did well too. Yeah, well, he offered him the flat Earth measurements that he led with, so obviously Toon's going to think he's doing well. He's pointing out the measurements are proving our point. So we're all using your measurements, Toon. Very useful. Maybe not. Okay, well, who then? I obviously want to hear the negative points.
Well, he goes by 2 names. He goes by AI Overlord, which I call him AI Ego Lord, and Theo Megaworthy, which I call him Theo Not Worthy. Okay. Yeah, I did not like the comment he left because it's not true, number one. Brian wasn't doing okay in the beginning. Brian was slaughtering him in the beginning. Then Brian got upset later on with the moderator, and he deserved it, and he turned his attention on him and told him it's a bullshit platform, that was demonstrated that night. And then he said, and then at the end, he rage quit.
Fine, right. Theo Megaworty is going to be divulging his way through all of the stuff that was previously recorded and everyone begged me to release and is now coming out exactly the time that I hoped it would come out because it is controversial. Now, as it happens, Brian's made his point satisfactorily and moved on, as has Adam much, much sooner. Now, Theo's still, or AI Overlord, or whatever you want to call him, is still listening to it and making a defensive stance when Brian is actually chatting with me literally about AI and things that he was saying that were positive, unrelated. Like just Brian went, oh, an AI mentioned blah, 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 blah. Can't remember the exact point. But he's just talked about something positive that was going on that AI was involved with or had said specifically. In other words, it wasn't like he immediately had to chastise AI. He was just talking about something that had happened that was also positive, probably in relation to TFE, if you know what I mean. Whereas AI isn't. He's still dealing with this in his own way because it's coming out on the after show on the second channel, delayed in terms of where I knew it would come out to the public. Now, members had already watched it and dealt with it, including AI, because he was leaving all the comments, and Brian was like, well, I'm not getting to watch this to give these summary comments. And when he finally came out, it was almost like Brian didn't care. Now that it's all out, he was like, oh, now it's out. Here's a clip of where he lied. And he sent it to me, and I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, he is in contradiction here and doubling down on it, if you want to call that a lie. Fine. But that's, Brian's sum total of it was to just send me a tiny little 20-second clip, and then a day later he's chatting in a positive light about AI. In other words, now his point is satisfactorily made where no one's disagreeing with him because there's ambiguity. He immediately got over it.
No, if AI's got a good point, nobody's got a problem. And that's my point. When Brian has something good, which he did when he went head-to-head with McToon, come on, just say, great job. End the story.
Yeah, even then, you're saying he did, from what you've just told me, the comments are, you did all right in the beginning. This is a guy who hates Brian's guts, and he's in a defensive stance against a position that he had to hold in contradiction to presumably save face, I'm assuming on AI's behalf. And I don't care. I don't care now. Now, the fact that Theo is dragging this out a bit, fine. I mean, I'll care as much as he forces me to if you want, but I don't care. I stopped caring almost immediately. And when they were like, wow, Theo's like this, I'm like, okay. When he's here, I'll say, yeah, the guy's a bit of a dick, and I'll insult him in terms of the ways I've marked his card already. And he doesn't say a word. I don't think that's because he's got some massive respect for me owning a show or anything like that. I think if I overstepped the line or said something wrong, he'd still tell me. Everyone else does. So I don't think he'd stand on ceremony. He's not trying to garner any favour from me either, as far as I can tell. I mean, he admittedly has asked me to promote 24/7 a bit more, but I was anyway, and I've got no issue with that. I don't see that as him needing to garner favour or tolerate me talking crap when I say, yeah, he's a bit of a prick, or whatever I've said that marked his card. Because he can be. He's
yeah,
also...
But we always knew that, and that's not a problem. He used to come in and back then, he was sharpening our
No, that is a problem.
Okay?
Stop. No, I hate this. Oh, that's become precedent, so therefore it's not a problem. No, Brian's non-stop waffle, because it's like, well, I do talk a lot, therefore that's not a problem. Just because you think it's set as a precedent doesn't mean it isn't a problem. It is. And the same applies to AI. You're like, oh, right, because he's a bit bulchy and a bit rude at times. Oh, okay. Or his crappy mic, or whatever you want to critique him for. You're like, well, because that's precedent, that's fine. No, absolutely not. I'm saying things like that get their people's, in this instance, AI, Brian, whoever, get their card marked. And you've got to normally work pretty hard to undo that. In other words, change what got your card marked. Now, if you don't, it doesn't become precedent. What an outrage.
No, I mean, he used to come in even to show, well, this is his declaration. I do that to sharpen your arguments, to keep you sharp. Fine. And I agree. You can comment other than being a prick. P-R-I-C-K. I agree. But listen, it's got to get sorted either way. Now, I wanted to ask you about that X thing you did. Was that good in your eyes?
I don't know. I only listened to it back the once. I don't really know. There was a lot on during that time. Wasn't it Christmas Eve or something that I did that?
Yeah, I believe so. Because I very rarely give you a thumbs down. That was bad.
What? Bad? Nothing I do is bad. How dare you? What an outrage.
Not you. Specifically you. Your arguments stay the same and you stay on point, but the whole setup of it, I didn't enjoy that at all.
Oh, the format, I didn't understand what was going on. That's normally the case. I don't know what's going on. Even in my own Discord server half the time, I don't know what they're talking about. But there we go. There's a limited amount of functionality I eke out of these programs. And in the case of... I like to focus on things that are positive. I'm a bit of an optimist, believe it or not. And in terms of the X platform, what did I like about it? Well, somebody gave me the link. I think it was AI. And I joined the show, right? Now, other than registering this computer with a brand new Google attached X account, which isn't the one I typically use, therefore I ended up with a brand new account to talk to people on, and I ended up with people subscribing to it. You're like, oh, that isn't actually my Twitter account. But then I think, well, my Twitter account is my legacy Twitter account that I use to tweet out the show, and that's all it gets if you go through that account. There's thousands, as many as there shows, of tweets of the show and videos that I've made. And that's it. So you think, okay, well, maybe it's actually useful to have a separate X account. So that got created with very little fuss. And then I was into the show. And in terms of how that lines up for me, if there's a piece of software that comes in on the computer's line, that's as far as my desk is concerned. It's not my mic, it's not G+, which is most things. It's not Skype, and it's not Discord. What is it? Well, it's something else, therefore PC is what I label that line. Now, what is PC? It's media player, iTunes, piece of software that you load that's got a program on it like YouTube? No, that's Google. That comes in on the Google line, etc., etc. So all these things sometimes can cause complications. For X, other than it having double-tracked itself, which I couldn't figure out for the life of me why that was happening, and I did try and faff to figure it out, but I didn't want to faff too much because I didn't want to break it. But it worked. Now, I got double-tracked audio, and apparently Miggy had recorded it and didn't get double-tracked audio, so it is something solvable. But as far as I could tell, it just worked. Came in on PC line, I could talk to them, they could talk to me, there wasn't feedback, and double-tracked audio, hardly anybody's going to notice after about 5 seconds. As much as it would drive me absolutely up the wall to the point where I wouldn't want to listen to it. But that's me, I'm fussy. Most people can deal with horrendous background noise, scrapey overloaded audio, and just about as long as it can be made out 20%, 30% audibility, then they'll listen to it, because people don't care for whatever reason. But it worked. I'm happy with that. The fact that it works and it's just presumably broadcasting out on people's Twitter feeds on all sorts of different platforms, on apps and desktops and TVs and all sorts of other different things that you can just put X up on. And presumably they all just got the same feed I did, or better.
Well, one thing it displayed was even Flat Earth's desire for a model. I don't get it. Like this guy asking to put, well, Earth measured flat. Can we put it like in a diagram, like a cartoon, and show how? What? Why?
We can do that. We can show the parts of the Earth.
I'm not saying you can't. My question is why? Why do you need a model?
No model. Model nobody needs. I'm saying the model of your country. Can you make it, Neil? Elevation profile of your country. That's a model.
Oh, you're talking about just an illustration? That's what he was asking for, an illustration to help him along while we're discussing elevation angles?
Not illustration. Show him the real Earth. Show him, let's say, we use Bolivia, but there is so many planes, in on the Earth. Use that and say, okay, look, this is the reality, and we are using here elevation profiles in reality.
Right. But any map of anything, that's what they're doing.
Google map, it's flat Earth map. You have distances, you have everything there. And you have reality. You take the car, you go somewhere, and you will see that you are on that it's correct. Take the elevation up, and then you see how much change elevation when you're driving car.
He used the word model, so that's why I said model. But it is that there are a lot of flat. Well, they might not even be flat earthers, right? We don't know who's who anymore. We know where we stand. The people that were not affected by this whole TFE thing and know what's what. It don't affect us at all. Like Nathan says, we're bulletproof.
You can Nathan can say thank you to McToon because he did the best PR in last years. That where the guns, Nathan. That's the best PR what I saw in last years. Public relation, because he's in Antarctica, and some people doesn't know who is Nathan. And so now, why this guy calling some guy's name, And some people will search for now for that Nathan. Who is that guy? Why he's shouting?
You ain't kidding, because when Dave Weiss mentioned him, I was immediately like, this is years ago. He said the guys from across the pond, that flat earth debate, I can't get enough of them. I was like, what? Flat earth debate? I never heard that. And I searched and I found, and here I am. So you're right. People are going to be listening to that and saying, Nathan, who's this Nathan guy?
Yeah, like I heard, like 7 years ago. It was like, go there and debate Nathan. And I was like, who is Nathan, my God? Who is that? Because especially now, because the engine search, it you will not find so easy, But now you will find, because there is guys screaming.
He started immediately with Brian, right off the top. He started with the ad homs. That's another thing, that moderator. You guys are not sounding smart saying ad hom. That's not an ad hom. He's attacking the person's character. Immediately.
Truthers like Nathan Oakley, I don't worry about this nonsense. Does the sun prove Earth shape? No. Models aren't real and we don't live on a model.
Shut up! I'm not done!
Tag Kieran B in this because I really do. I want to, quite frankly.
I'm so happy for real truthers like Nathan Oakley. I don't worry about this nonsense. Does the sun prove Earth shape? No. Models aren't real and we don't live on a model. Well, I would agree with that. But Nathan Oakley isn't the only person who holds that opinion. There's other people who hold that opinion who don't yell at people over it.
The only reason that a person has to yell at you is because you're not listening.
My emotions aren't in it. It doesn't matter if you trust this person, blah, blah, blah. Globies brought back the data. So if you're not emotionally invested, shut up, I'm not done. Ugh. Trust Jaron or trust Austin.
No, I based it off of what I saw, Karen.
So everybody from both sides is saying there's a 24-hour sun. So what
I'm on the flat earth side.
No, it wasn't a couple of guys. There were 10 people. There was a whole entourage.
Don't yell at people over it.
Not real.
1909.
Dude, you're cool, but you're a... It's fake. There's Shills. Everything's fake.
Where's the Guns, Nathan by Mr. Cheswick?
I've not come all this distance just for you to take the piss.
What a classic. That's Where's the Guns, Nathan by Mr. Cheswick. That's a real earworm. I've got that song stuck in my head. Where's the guns, Nathan? I'm in this Antarctic abyss. I've not come all this distance.
She read a little live chat for me. Take a listen.
I'm so happy for real truthers like Nathan Oakley.
Just for you to take the piss. Anyway, we had a conversation a couple of days ago. Myself. That's a real.
How are you?
Hey, greetings. Morning.
Oh, everybody's excited. We've had a few days off, no live streams. Just the stuff that I pre-planned to come out over New Year, which hit the mark perfectly, might I say myself. So everyone's loved all the content that's come out over the Christmas period. And here we are, about to enter 2025. Everybody excited about New Year?
Absolutely, because the way we started the last year, I think is awesome.
I started last year telling people that through 2024 we would promote the idea that we shouldn't immediately move forward telling people Earth's not a globe, but move forward telling them that Earth is measured flat. Come the end of the year, people who call us shills and grifters, quote, Earth is measured flat, end quote. Shills, who call us grifters and scammers up until this point. So I'd say that's pretty much job's a good one. Everybody on the flat Earth side that know it's flat because they understand and appreciate how Earth is measured flat, tell people Earth is measured flat, and the people who need to get out of jail free card because their azimuthal equidistant North Pole centric globe projection failed, now say Earth is measured flat because it sounds good, which is good, I guess, but nevertheless, I'd say that was a successful 2024. Wouldn't you agree, Neil?
Absolutely. So what are we going to do for 2025 is the question.
Back to basics with everyone, starting with the people who have a name and have remained as the dust settles of the TFE debacle that affected us not one iota. In fact, helped quite greatly thanks to McToon. Where are the guns, Nathan? I don't know. I better remove them from the housekeeping questions immediately, Toon. Meanwhile, what about those 10K challenge flat Earth measurements you made? You're going to be making them. I've got to go. He tried to deflect with measurements, Dave. Where are the guns?
That's classic. He deflected with measurements.
I certainly did, as I've been telling everybody to be doing throughout 2024 and saying that would be the best methodology. Meanwhile, a guy who's apparently gathering up proof of his bias towards a globe that was created with flat Earth measurements is screaming my name into the snow at the mere mention of the measurements of Earth. So I'm going to say, yeah, it hits the mark every time. Literally, he didn't take the win from his son. He screamed about there not being any guns. And I'm hearing on the grapevine that his own side are quite annoyed with him about that too. That is to say, they weren't best pleased when my name gets mentioned with a 8-year-old straw man about the guns that might be there on their guided tour. Yeah, that didn't go over well with anybody, it seems, except us, who benefited greatly. So thanks again, Toon. Really appreciate it. Huge shout-outs just before we actually go underway proper. Michael Khan, thank you for the super chat. He says, Happy New Year, FED fam. Let's bring these up on screen so we can actually see them. I have to scroll all the way back because he did actually super chat before we'd even gone live. So thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Michael Khan. Really appreciate the support. Smash the super chat, everyone else, if you want to support this channel. Also, shout out to, I'm going to have to scroll through two lists because I can't read it on my big screen. Michael Khan again. He says, I'm going to use my freebie to shout out the FED YouTube chat. Well, thank you very much for using your freebie. It's not a freebie, you're a member. You pay for that super chat, so don't be under the misapprehension that you got that for free, Michael. You did not. Anyway, shout out to Unitox Femu, also, who gifted a membership. So thank you very much for all of the support, chaps and chapettes. Moving on. Let's just see if I missed it. Yeah, that's it. Done.
Hi, Nathan.
Good. Sorry, go ahead.
Hey, Nathan. Guys, you all right?
Hey, one day.
Yeah, that moving on the front foot forward last year, where's that time gone? Bloody hell, that's gone fast, hasn't it?
Maybe for you.
No.
I mean, for me, I fought an uphill battle of people telling me, no, you can't measure Earth. No, it couldn't be Earth being measured flat. on the flat Earth side, and the globe's saying, of course we measure it flat. It's locally flat. It's perfectly acceptable to measure it flat. Tangents. That's what I get from the globe side. You're like, okay, so the globe side are telling me that they accept and understand, because they've looked into it more than the flatties, that the measurements are flat. And they'll tell me that. The flatties will tell me that I'm wrong because they don't want to learn it because they're too lazy. Until they need to defend a sun that's inconsequential, then they'll tell their audiences that Earth's measured flat. Thanks, Karen.
Well, I heard from Morgile, and Morgile said he brought it to Jaron's attention, and Jaron's response was, F those people over there. I'm not using that. So there's a willful not wanting to use the argument, not even argument, the fact that destroys the globe and proves flat Earth is beyond my understanding.
Kind of doesn't matter now, does it? The people who are calling us grifters for saying science proves things, or scammers for saying we measure Earth flat, are the same people that are now being called shills and scammers and grifters. So, I mean, us pouring a little bit of lighter fluid onto what is basically a raging inferno by going, oh yeah, by the way. I mean, I agree, Neil. I'm not saying you're wrong.
I think myself though, going forward, I'm just sticking with the measurements of the flat Earth. I mean, I know we all will be doing, but I think that's the main argument. I mean, whatever they say, whether it's something to do with gravity, the shape of the moon, seeing a light in the sky, they've always got to presume that they live on a globe. And if they're going to say they live on a globe, they're going to have to offer up some measurements, which they haven't got, because Earth is definitely measured flat. That's how latitude's measured. That's how we navigate the oceans, using sea level. So it all boils down to Earth is measured flat. And we've really got to stick to that, even going forward in this new year coming.
Absolutely.
That's the main thing.
Well, yeah, that will always be on the agenda. We've got, fortunately, as we've not neglected housekeeping, we've kept it up to date. We've got elevation angle-based questions and pitch data acquisition on a globe-based questions that will never cease to identify those points, so they'll always remain prevalent. In the same way, if I said to you now, right now, one deck, is there any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth? What would be your reply?
Well, you're gonna need an R value for that. You know, you're going to have you need to have proof that you live on a globe, and how how did you get them globe measurements? Please explain.
From a flat Earth. And so it goes on. My point being, though, that question was the first housekeeping question, and it came from a really early debate with Paul Voigt and Sleeping Warrior. Shout out to both of them, where Sleeping Warrior essentially asked for the evidence of the self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth based on the debate that was at hand. And the response was, I've got that, from Paul Voigt, the globe believer. I'll be right back. It's been 7 years.
So wait a second. Anthony Riley was the first one to say, can I have evidence for that molten iron core? The guy went away to get it and has not returned.
So that became the first housekeeping question, because rather than just, right, well, he's buggered off and now what, we haven't got somebody to push into a position where we can actually ask these sorts of questions, like Anthony did, we need them to be memorialised. And that is precisely what the housekeeping questions do. Over time, each point that we've debated about and won has become a refined question that labours that point without even needing an answer. It draws attention to the flaws within the argument from the offset. Any evidence you can have pitch data on a globe? I like that as a self-contained. That's become the question because it's perfectly adequate already. It may
What
get
is pitch
refined.
data?
Well, the nose-up information with respect to a horizontal plane of reference, as recorded and measured, like Earth being measured flat with pitch data, that sort of pitch data. Very useful, that. Most recent housekeeping edition. But it starts with the essence of housekeeping, which isn't actually the molten iron core question. That often gets neglected, even though it's still very much there. The question that gets asked at the beginning of the housekeeping session typically is there any evidence of Earth curve? That's got refined over time.
Yeah, but you're not asking the main housekeeping question, Nathan. Can I ask it?
Feel free.
Is there any evidence of a 24-hour sun in Antarctica?
No, we've never asked that question in housekeeping, Neil. But we do need to refine out the pretend housekeeping questions we haven't asked and haven't been asking for 8 years. For example, are there any guns in Antarctica? We're not asking that question either. I mean, that's kind of self-evident to anybody who's watched the show, but maybe that's why they're pissed at Toon. You haven't told me yet. You haven't done the investigation, eh, Neil?
No, you know what? Give me a couple of minutes. I'll be right back.
Oh, a couple of minutes? That sounds optimistic.
Yeah. What Neil's saying, though, is like, does any light in the sky being seen for however long, 24 hours, it's not proof of, it's got nothing to do with the shape of the Earth, either flat or globe. It's irrelevant.
Well, it isn't until you put it into practical application and then it suddenly has a claimed measurement. So earlier you said correctly, there is no globe measurements. Yeah, but when they allude to the idea that they have Earth measurements, they're ultimately measuring Earth flat and then calculating sphericity, violating, in this case, the angle measurement off a flat plane for elevation angle measurements.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to keep doing, bringing them back down to the ground, out of the sky. And let's talk about the Earth measurements. I mean, they even tell you this yourself. They'll even tell you it's measured flat. They'll give you a 2,000-year-old story, the Greek guy measuring it flat. You know what I mean? They've got no globe story or globe proof.
Is there any evidence that you can measure an elevation angle from a curved baseline?
I mean, there's not. But I mean, that how stupid is that question as well? I mean, it's impossible, isn't it? It can't happen. You have to have a horizontal baseline for an elevation angle. It's part and parcel of the elevation angle.
Well, we will keep up the housekeeping, although we won't necessarily ask every single question on every single show. You'll get the general gist of what housekeeping serves, and its purpose has never been more useful. Surprising, because literally about 6 weeks ago I was going, are they really needed anymore? We have now established that without exception, we, they, all of us measure Earth flat for all examples, including and not limited to globe claims of measurements that aren't. Their calculations based on flat Earth measurements. Why do we need to keep asking these housekeeping questions about the still to this day prevalent worldview that we're on a ball when we know it's measured flat? Well, here's why. Because sometimes people come along and say, hey, we can hand wave all of that by just looking at the sun for a day. Check it out. Look, it goes round and round. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Wow, that's amazing. If I accept that that is actually true and you are actually filming that and everything's to be taken as read, and let's say for the sake of it, I'll do that right now. Okay, cool. 24 hours, sun. Wow, that's cool. And, oh, what, are you going to give me some measurements? Let's have a look at them. Oh, those are flat Earth measurements. Where are the guns, Nathan? Yeah, I look forward to more flat Earth measurements coming from the, quote, final experiment, which it's not, it's fraud. It's not an experiment. That's something we'll be going through in 2025 with our audiences that remain. Moreover, with the people who have caused some of these problems that the TFE have leaned into, utilised as straw men that they could burn quite effectively because of some of our flat Earth brethren that monetised this garbage that was debunked. If they remain, we'll have to whip them into line and make sure they understand not to do that again. Now, feel free to talk about whatever hoax that you feel is perpetrated within the mainstream media. Feel free to talk about Freemasonry if you know what you're talking about. But if you don't. But don't associate any of it with flat Earth unless it's directly connected. 99 times out of 100, it's not. Now, for the people who remain in that regard, we'll be disciplining them in terms of what they needed to have been doing up until now to not have this problem occur again. And that is to say, lead with Earth being flat. Don't lead with how you say the globe doesn't work and then stack up your own little false dichotomy with an azimuthal equidistant globe projection that most of them knew full well didn't work in the first place. They were part of the team that debunked it. But then what, move forward going, oh, it's quite useful to put on this app though, isn't it? If I tell people about how the sun shouldn't work, I mean, heaven forbid someone comes along and shows that it does actually work in that way. Then they can affirm the consequent with their globe and tell me how wrong I was with my globe projection I'm calling a flat Earth map. How useful for them. is what we'll be telling the people who remain that were prevalent before this dust storm started. So yeah, we've already started contacting them, and we will continue to do so. Now, while previously it's Nathan, you're beating a dead horse contacting Jaron and telling him how science actually proves things, and most of what's being claimed isn't science, like TFE. And what was the response from Jaron? You're a shill, you're a scammer, Nathan. Yeah, well, what do you know? Jaron's a shill. That's what shills do. Claim anybody that's actually debunking them and exposing them are the very thing that they are. So what do you know? Here we are, same position. We wouldn't be in this situation if they'd have adhered to the debunking they were privy to, what was it, 9 3/4 years ago? Don't want to offend JLB. But yeah, we've been doing this for 10 years, and the road to debunking what has been debunked again by final experiment was a pointless and useless endeavour had people have just accepted that it was debunked in the first place and then carried on researching it, realised its origins, that it's a globe projection, and how that globe was created, with flat Earth measurements of angles to stars. Then there'd no Earth was measured flat, and none of this would have happened. We've got to start with the basics. What science? How did they lie to you? All of you people on the flat Earth side that are like, oh no, how can we debunk this TFE? You don't need to. It was never an experiment. Now notice that Eric DeBay's latched onto that. Just an observation, right, Eric? You're welcome. Now, if you could have some weight behind why you say that, that's to say it's not an experiment. What is an experiment? Why did they use that word? Because it's a very effective magic trick when you don't have empirical evidence backed by experimentation that has a hypothesis. That's a scientific prediction attached based on a phenomena that has been observed, not might be observed if we go down there being an affirming the consequent fallacy. South is flat Earth. Only directionality. So when you know all these things, you can parrot them off in the face of some numpty that's telling you that looking at the sun for a day proves they're on a globe, if they assume that south, a flat Earth only direction, is actually antipodal. Well, it isn't. Shout out to Michael Kahn for the super chat. Now experiments, plural. Why? Because they did more claim to be experiments when they weighed stuff with respect to a horizontal plane of reference after leveling a tool, Michael. They call those experiments too. Yeah, we need to stamp that in the foot to answer whoever was asking me. What do we do now? Well, we start at basics. What is science? Why did I start being called a scammer by Bob 6 years ago? Because I tried to explain that his experiment wasn't an experiment. Remember? That was where I got chastised and cast out of a community that already left me when all this happened. Nobody turned around and left me. I've grown considerably since this happened. Why? Because they'd already buggered off. I'd already had them all poisoned. Well, if you start crawling your way back after being poisoned by Bob or Jaron or Witsit or anybody else that's calling me a grifter because I tried to educate you on what science is, you'll understand the importance now. You're all worried about some experiment that it isn't. QE's been saying it since he got here. So yeah, hopefully people will pay attention, or we'll just fall into the same old traps and we'll repeat this cycle for another 10 years. We'll see how it goes.
Nathan,
that just may never settle. Go ahead, Neil.
When did they start claiming that predictions were predicting where the sun will be at a certain time or a planet will be at a certain time? When did that start becoming
They're not predictions.
Definition of prediction?
Right, let's get this snipped in the bud. They are not predictions. They are observations of cyclical motion. If I watch my clock at 11:59 and go, oh, I've got a prediction for... No. That's not a prediction. When we're talking about science, a prediction's a hypothesis. It's a very special kind of prediction. It's a scientific prediction, aka hypothesis. It establishes the cause of a naturally occurring phenomena in suppositional format. That is to say, I suppose X will cause Y, and Y is what you're observing. You observe a phenomena and go, I wonder why that happens. So you suppose a cause, and that's your hypothesis. If my supposed cause, then the phenomena that I observed. That's what you're trying to induce by way of variation of a suppositional causal influencer. If A, causal influencer in suppositional format, then B, naturally occurring phenomena you want to know the cause of. What's an experiment? Well, when you vary it, that's your suppositional causal influencer. You vary it and see if it causes it or not. Shocking, isn't it? That's an experiment. And when you know that, you go, so final experiment, you say, what's the independent and dependent variable? For anybody who's wondering about the gossipy garbage of, why didn't you go down there? Because people seem to be very interested in this non-existent ticket that Will Duffy offered that didn't have to offer because he didn't actually have one, but never actually contacted me or had any communication with me whatsoever about. Well, that ticket didn't exist. It made no difference. The first thing I did communicate with Duffy in one single communication under a comment on my own video when he commented to me was, what is the independent and dependent variables in your experiment, Will Duffy? ? Me. That was what I said. It's the only thing I've ever said to him. Ever. And what did he respond with? Well, nothing. He didn't give me anything. A load of clowns responded. He did not. That's the only thing I've ever asked him. Has he offered me a ticket? No. Have I chatted with him about this ticket? No, that's never happened. Oh, what? He told you that he offered me a ticket, did he? Yeah, Duffy's a fraud. There's helplines for people he's frauded. You understand that? It is simple. He's got solicitors' hotlines if you've been affected by Duffy. He lied to you? Shocking, innit? Yeah, there was no ticket to go down there. It makes absolutely no difference anyway, even if he had asked. Because what was the lines of communication opened with? What's the hypothesis for your experiment, Duffy? It wasn't. I knew it the moment I had any communication with him whatsoever in any form or shape. What's your hypothesis? He was immediately screwed. Because he's lying with science by using that word. Because that word conjures the idea that you've got empiricism. That's the only purpose in doing it.
Well, good morning, guys.
Hey. Got 10th
Morning, chocolate.
You.
That 10th thing.
Well, you do happen to be talking about somebody who clearly says that lying and deception's cool. So I don't even know why that's a problem. Like, he literally said that out loud in a session, in some sort of sermon or something, that lying and deception's cool. You think it's not cool because you think that's what the Bible says? Nah. It's cool. Which comes from a pastor, which is crazy to me, but okay. You can go with that. And this is the guy that you get to lead this whole little TFE crap? Okay. Very interesting.
He's a fraud of a pastor.
But we don't need to discredit Duffy. Duffy's experiment isn't an experiment. It doesn't adhere to the scientific method. It's not an actualization of a hypothesis, and the phenomena wasn't even observed. It literally failed every step of the scientific method. If you know what that is, you'd been able to point that out. But from the moment I started to attempt to educate the Shills in this flat earth community about what science is, they started calling me a grifter and a scammer and turning everybody against me. That's how it actually broke down. Now we've got to do all that again. Hello, if you're listening, that's anybody who remains in this community once the dust settles because you did or didn't think it was consequential to you. That's observing a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Or not, it all being fake, it makes no difference. Literally, I don't care. I can take either point. I can take either standpoint. Go ahead.
Yeah, just like it made no difference to him why he called it the final experiment. Because when asked by Fatsoy, he said, well, that's not substantive. Right?
I know why it's called that. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, 10th.
All right,
Yes,
Tim.
Why?
Yeah. Listen, just to play on words, it was called the final experiment because it validated that it wasn't a final experiment and it worked to their detriment. I have people calling me saying, hey, I just ran into some people and they know I'm a flat earther and they brought up this Antarctica experiment. And of course, I said, no, that's not an experiment. I went through how we teach it here. And you're going to have a few subscribers, Nathan, because that final experiment is going to grow your show because this pseudoscience is going to backfire, has backfired, is backfiring on all of them. It was the greatest thing that could have ever happened because it showed who the pretender clowns were on the flat earth genre of YouTube channels or podcasts or whatever, because they all now are on the record for being fools. And that's only going to lift up the true channel, which is FED. So good job, everyone.
Excellent.
Ed?
Yeah, I've been hearing that sentiment a lot. That this whole thing has done nothing but separate the weak from the the boys from the men. You know, that type of thing. And I don't know, man. This whole it's looking so suspect that it's almost worse than the moon landing at this point. I don't know, man. Every time I see some part of this that's popping up on my YouTube every day, it just gets worse and worse. Now there's this Vape Gate thing, like
Wait
really?
a second. Wait a second. That's something because I seen his video and they were asking him in chat, well, how come there's no breath coming out of your mouth? And then he went into his trailer, took a hit of vape, came back out, turned the camera on and blew it out and said, there's some breath.
Now?
What's up with that?
What's up now? And
Hey,
that's
don't
the
fall.
part. That's when I saw that. I mean, listen. Before we gave them the benefit of the doubt that okay, maybe they went, maybe they did see this 24-hour sun. I honestly, after I saw that, I said I gotta take that back because I just saw Whitson be full of shit. Like,
Yep. Listen,
I couldn't.
don't.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Tom.
As the
Don't
swearing begins, I think I'm going to point out that I have actually shared a stream that is going on my second channel. So if you are subscribed to Nathan Oakley 1980 and you'd like to keep up to date with the Uncut and after shows, then there is a link going by to my second channel. So go and subscribe to my second channel where we have a delayed link to the Uncut and after shows that come out for members only almost immediately, i.e. when they've finished recording. Now, in the case of today's live stream, it's going to continue as a members only live stream. So if you do want to become a member and take part in either the Uncut and after show or the occasional members only live streams, then become a member now. But this is going to be where we bid you farewell. So a massive thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, subscribed to my second channel. As I say, there is a show continuing now, so you can go and check out the show. I think it's about Bryce Mitchell, so that's going on my second channel. So subscribe if you haven't done there already. And this show will continue in a few moments for members only. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you in that members only next video.
Hey, don't hold your breath.
Don't hold your breath.
It's all good. I was just transitioning from public live stream to members only live stream. That was all.
We didn't hear the chocolate. Thought he was cut.
What?
Chocolate was saying something and it was end.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Say what happened, Sasha? I'm sorry.
You were saying something, but Discord in the time it was cut in the middle of your speech. We didn't hear anything what you said.
Yeah, you were talking about the vape. About Whitson's vape.
It got cut. Oh yeah,
we lost you right in the middle of that.
I'm sorry. I was just saying how it's that whole thing was just funny, right? Like yeah, it doesn't prove that they went or didn't go. It's just the fact that you acted in such a manner looks so suspect, right? To come out and just say, "Oh, where's the breath?" Oh, right, and then I got no breath. Instead of saying, "Well, I don't," it's weird, guys. There's no breath. No. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna turn off the computer. I'm gonna come back, give you some hold music, and then come back in like a minute. Oh, magically, I got breath now. Like what? Come on, man. What now? What's up now? You see that little arrogant piece of shit? Like, why would you do that, man? Like, that's to me just takes away any credibility you have for the rest of the whole thing. And that was basically my point. Like, it. Why would you act that way? Matter
Right.
of fact, if it was me, I wouldn't wait for people to tell me that where's the breath. I'd be like, yo, guys, I'm in Antarctica. There's no breath. It's crazy. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
but
saying? Like,
chocolate. But if you weren't there,
Word, exactly. Yo,
hold
I'm
on. But if
sorry,
you
yo. I'm
weren't
so sorry.
there, you would have to make it appear like you're there. So maybe you'd have to run and get some vape real quick and come back and blow out smoke. And then when you ask to pick up snow, shut the camera off. First, say I don't have my gloves on. Like I've picked up snow with my bare hands too. That's hard to do. But shut your camera off,
New York,
run.
I've had snow fights with no gloves on. Come on.
Look. Look. This is one of two things, chocolate. You gonna understand me, okay? I'm not trying to sound like Kamala Harris, but like you go listen. This is either because we know, like you said, like we first of all, we would be mad extra snorkeled up, like North Face to the T, like
You already know.
we would be OD first of all, and then we would just be doing regular. It would just seem genuine, but what do we get? We get this moon landing kind of feel. I'm not saying it's fake. I don't give a. I don't look. I'm saying it's real because I'm like it's ridiculous for us to say that it didn't. I couldn't really. I don't really care, but it could be a
Elijah,
little.
did you watch
It does feel.
every
Hold on, I'm not done. I'm not done. It does feel a little moon landing ish. Now it could be that, or like I said, you'll understand me. White people, What was the black guy doing?
Sorry, what's going on? I wasn't paying attention. Why is this turned into a race thing, Eli? What's going on?
No, hell no. It's like the first racial thing I said like all year. You guys have been hell no. I thought
Where
about it
was the
before I
black
said
guy?
it too. I thought about it and I was like, nah, they've done it like a million times.
And nobody was intended to die down there.
That's funny. The black guy does always die first.
Nice, but the black guy was he I felt he did have the coat on, right? He's the one dude all the way to the right or left in one of the photos. Anyway, I don't, man. Yeah, they're weird, man. I don't, not they're like they like. I mean, what's it? Them, that group, like they're weird group of people, man.
Yeah,
getting weirder.
Yeah, they are.
You couldn't pay me to bunk with Xanax.
You could be weird but still be genuine.
But do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand me as a man, just as a regular? Forget all this computer stuff, all this other whatever who you think we are and everything. Like with the actual conversations that I've had with Zedek, you couldn't pay me enough money to bunk with him to talk about reality as if it's some debate. That could never ever happen.
Yeah, not Sonic.
Maybe that's just me.
What about Toon?
There's not enough of us that are, unaffected by it to make it jokes about it. So I'm waiting for the funny memes, like somebody taking the piss out of the whole Vapegate thing, and Witsit going, "Oh, there's definitely breath coming out," and then he ducks off screen, and you hear. What's up now, man? What's up now?
It's literally already happened. There was apparently another angle to that whole thing when he turned off the computer.
Yeah, but you need to. Yeah, I get that.
Back.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying give the other angle and have him hitting a bong. Make it funny.
I think it's probably coming already because they've got it on video already. That's already a thing. Like, apparently he didn't know that there was video set up all over the place.
Make it more funny. Make it a 3-foot penis-shaped bong.
But why did he have to walk 30 feet away to pick up snow? That's what I'm wondering.
Really weird.
Is the wait?
The snow was just, it was really
Look,
compact,
see, I
man.
don't,
The snow was,
Nathan. Look, Nathan. I don't want to talk about this stuff, but the piece of nonsense is it's a little. I'm hungry. It's like 9:42 a.m.
Right, I get it. We're all like
what's
moths,
that
and this
about?
dust storm is like a bright light, and we all want to fly right into it, don't we? You know why? I talked about this with Brian, right, and we were the first to put our hands up, right? Why does this happen, Eli? There is an answer, and Brian and I admitted, both of us at the same time, why this is. Why are we here? It's all well and good us pointing outwards and going, you're all conspiratards, coming here with your 9/11 and your Sandy Hook. You're all idiot. No. Why am I here? I'm a conspiratard. I admit it. Brian's a conspirator. Yeah, I admit it. So we can't bleed and help ourselves. We see that stuff and go, oh, I want to get my teeth into it.
Hold on. I didn't get into conspiracies till after I came to Flat Earth.
No, you're a
poisoned
goddamn
me.
liar.
I
What about
didn't.
9/11? What about
No,
9/11?
After Flat Earth, it was brought to my attention.
For real?
Yeah, I believed the whole thing. Like, yay, pro USA. We went to the moon, everything.
Whoa. Okay, wait. What about JFK?
That's the only one. That's the only one that I know that one. But I knew that it was a mob.
But you woke up like literally around the same time I did, like 2017. Except I was already looking into, well, after 9/11 and everything. You start to see things like those videos where you got this like super beam thing coming down into the ocean, and I always suspected like this looks a little, but my brain was always looking for. I know they're lying. Who are they? I don't know. Everyone seems something's weird around here. Like my brain was like that for a while.
I didn't really even have to wait for after 9/11 to really, when the videos started coming out and shit. That day, when the news was telling me a plane flew into the Pentagon and a plane flew into the dirt in Pennsylvania or something like that, I was just like, wait a minute. I don't see any plane. This is while it was on the news that day. Where is the plane? I don't understand. Okay, we got the video.
Oh, you mean like when they were talking about COVID and they were like, all these people are in the hospital. I'm at that hospital in New York, and I'm like, wait, where at?
Yeah, me too. See, that's different though. I was on board then. So I think I even got a video of the hospital on Myrtle Avenue. What is that one called again?
It's a
Whitecroft. Whitecroft Hospital. I was right there. I was like, there's nobody here.
Mm-hmm. Then that news clip where it's like the same news clip they used in the UK, and I showed my boy that, and he's like, oh, they got stock footage and it happens all the time, and I'm like yeah, but no, like look at how they manipulated it. Look at the one in see, this is because it's like, why is that happening? Like, do they do that on purpose just to like, because they know we're little rats just trying to get at the I don't know. It's all this dumb stuff why are you doing that? Whips it like,
all right, could it be, Eli, could it be that
turning your computer off then coming back? Like, no, fam, just absolutely not.
All right.
Why?
What if they were
why
offered?
Are you driving me crazy right now? I'm sorry.
What if they were offered a large amount of money to go there and do this, and they're deliberately putting these things out there? You ever think about that?
That's a possibility. That's like where that's like along the lines of how I think. Like,
unfortunately, after I saw that whole thing, that was the first time I was just like, wow, did these guys really take a payday for this? Because why would you just blatantly full of shit? Just that. What happened? Why did that occur just now? Why are you just not being genuine? Like, yo, there's no breath out here. I don't know why. It's crazy. But why are you going to fake that?
Or just bend down and pick up snow. So maybe he's making it obvious that,
What
hey,
is that about? What do you know? Okay, what do you mean that he had to walk however many feet?
Somebody on his live stream or whatever on his comment made a comment like, pick up some snow. So he's like, oh, I would pick up snow, but I don't have my gloves on. This is right after somebody asked him about his breath. So he says, hold on, I'm going to go to the shed. I'm going to go and get my gloves. He turns the computer off. Right? He turns the live stream off.
Wait, stop.
Yes.
No.
yes. Let Chocolate finish the story.
Yes.
Why are you turning your computer off? What is that about?
I don't know. He turns it off. He turns it off. He leaves a bit of hold music on, and then he leaves. Right now, in another angle, another video, you can see him walk away from the computer where it's set up in front of the shed, and walk to the shed or whatever, and get something inside and come back out. Right now, when he comes back out, you can see him sort of kind of looks like he took a hit from a vape or something, like, right?
No, the snow. The snow.
No. Okay,
We're getting to the snow.
I'm getting to that. So then he comes back to the computer, turns it on. As he turns it on, he's blowing out a big old breath. And he says, oh, there's a little breath. Right? Yes. There's a little breath. What's up now? And that's the part that got me. The what's up now? Like you was just about your shit just now. Okay, you got breath now. Okay, the breath lasted 1.5 breaths. After that, went right back to absolutely no breath. Right, and just plays it off like, yeah, that's cool. Okay, so now he turns around and walks because somebody asked him before, pick up some snow. Instead of picking up whatever snow is at his feet, the guy turns around and walks about 20 feet into the other direction to pick up snow, turns around, comes back to the camera, and drops the snow in front of the camera.
Then bent down and picked that snow up again.
Yeah, then bent down and picked up the same snow he just dropped and dropped it again. Like, look, there's snow, guys. What?
No.
You can't make this up, man.
No. What the heck?
All the other shit that I saw, like the shadows and the snow not making footprints, all of that, like
the shadow thing. The shadow thing, people said. Now again,
I don't know.
This is speculation. The shadow thing, people said they recreated that in parking lots and stuff. I
don't know.
Yeah, shadows are tough to prove, though.
I didn't pay that much because they're comparing it to the moon landing. How there's some sort of indoor lighting or something because of the way because there's only supposed to be.
So there's
just like on the moon,
there's the link of the shadows.
Just like on the moon, there's only supposed to be one source of light here, right?
Right.
Okay. So apparently we've got the crisscrossing shadows and all of that.
That definitely right there. So what I'm talking about with the parking lot thing, I think they're talking about the length of the shadow, like because I pointed out a lot that goes from like 3 feet to 7 feet, whatever people say that's possible. Again, in a parking lot, I don't know if there are any other additional lights or anything, but I didn't see those videos. But what you're saying though, with the different angles of the shadows, not them. I don't. Come on. I don't.
Yeah, but when you watch it, there is something fishy because I said it on that Sunday when Nathan went live. I said, there's something weird about them shadows. I don't know.
They are not parallel. Only that thing is weird. They are not parallel. There should to be parallel.
What about the football sun? That's the real thing. Why did it get a football shape at the bottom and football shape at the top? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, the sun seems to morph.
Nah, the football thing, no. I think that might be like maybe a glare effect or something.
Lensing?
I didn't see the video, so I don't even know why I'm being a typical Glober, like just saying stuff before seeing what I'm.
Yeah, you got to watch the video first because you would get that effect when it was by the
Send it to
mountain.
me on Discord if you can.
In the low part, the mountains would get all football-y looking if that was what it was.
What about the
Can
missing
you send me the video?
footprints? Did you see the footage with the guys walking by in the snow and like leaving no footprints behind? That was really weird.
Yeah, but if the
compacted
snow, hold on, if the
dummies.
snow is ice, you're not going to have footprints. You know what I'm trying to say?
That's
Yeah,
true, I think
that's true. But you could see that there were other people walking by and they were leaving footprints, but like there was just a few select parts of the footage where people were walking by and there was no footprints. But I guess it could just be some parts are colder than others or whatever, but it still looks really odd in the video.
Now, here's the question.
Colder than others. I don't know.
If you were offered $1 million to go there and say what they said, would you do it?
No. Why? Because if you do what you're supposed to do, you'll have more than $1 million in your lifetime. So why am I going to go and sell my soul knowing that I could have gotten that money doing the right thing? We literally all can. So if I'm old and I don't, or I haven't amassed $1 million, whatever, right? I'm not going to go
10
sell
million?
my soul because I didn't do that. No.
$10 million.
$1 million is all you need to change your life. I mean,
all over my name.
So it's 1 million, 10 million. 1 million is 10 million to me.
Say he got the $1 million, and that's why he's putting these things out there so we could see that, hey, there's something fishy here, guys.
I couldn't sell my soul and lie like that for $1 million.
How could you be? You can't be that stupid that you don't bend right down and grab snow. Come on.
Then the other fallout that's kind of funny to me is now you got Jaron attacking Dave Weiss.
Oh, that was hysterical.
Was kind of, yeah.
Like what's funny about that is, so my good friend Allison, right? Met her in Discord, sweetheart, right? She came into the 24/7 Discord yesterday. QE was there too, Indio. Creation Bear, shout out to you. You came later. You didn't get to see that. But she was just saying, I don't like what this is doing to the community. It's separating you guys who are friends and this, that, and the third. And India was trying to explain to her, like, it's not a community. It's not like in the way that you're thinking about it. You come in here and ask us like about Flat Earth. It's kind of like, everybody who likes lollipops or something. And you go to them and you're like, oh, well, what do you think about this other random thing, lollipop liker or something? Like, I don't know. It's like the earth is just flat. We don't all just think the same thing, and we're not a part of a community because we talk about flat earth just like there's in a lollipop community. It's like ridiculous. So we're just trying to explain that, the people that are having a fallout never talked about like really flat earth and the kinds of things that we talk about to begin with. So you coming in here to talk about that here, we don't know we don't have anything to do with that.
At this point,
and it's great to be able to say that we don't have anything to do with any flat earth fallout because
we just doing our own thing.
Well, Nathan's built up a community. You can't deny that.
In some ways, it almost feels kind of like a badge of honor that the very guys that are being purported to be these charlatans and shills right now were the ones calling us scammers a year ago. It's like that kind of worked out because that completely disintegrated any association we had with y'all, because we were called scammers just for saying science proves things. It proves things with science. What the hell?
Yeah, and it makes Nathan look really good because he went out and tried to reach out to Jaron and them to try to explain to them what science was.
Oh my God, I'm literally shaking, guys, because as Chocolate said that, I've gotten an epiphany, a revelation, if you will. Oh my God.
Boy.
Actually, what's it? Our dear friend, someone that was close to my heart at one point that I revered as a friend who is now foe. What if he did this selflessly? And what I mean by selflessly is so he understood what we were about, and he knew what was coming. He knew the script beforehand. He knew all this was coming down. This is what explains his weird erratic behavior, his switch, his quickness in trying to distance himself from the people that have held him dear, like me, myself, who has met him here in New York City. And he said, oh man, you know how in the movies where the guy, he knows that he has to go and the girl just doesn't want him to, so he's like, get out of here, you I've been cheating on you, and who gives a shit? Why don't you just get, I don't believe in the scientific method, Eli. Why don't you just get and leave us alone? And he's separated us, and he's kept us ventilated and safe from this bullshit.
Let me play the music.
And now I feel so sad and bad. Okay, all right.
Hold on, let me get the music going.
See, Nathan, we can be funny, right?
Yeah, I mean, I could do a trailer for it. It was a time of war. It was a time of suffering. One man led by his heart endeavors to save the whole of flat Earth. Austin Whitsitt is the shill.
No, you should have said Austin Whitsitt is ping pong golf ball.
That is so good. Seriously though. Oh my God.
They call it Whitsitt Vapes It.
Whitsitt Vapes It.
So stupid, man. Oh my God. It is so sad.
Oh God.
There's no recovering either.
Wait a moment when I come to the scene. All of you will speak. Sasha, my God.
What?
Nothing, Nathan. I'm only putting myself that one day I will be very famous and then people will speak about me and I will make some big mistake, but doesn't matter. My name will be in the mainstream media of one of the famous flat earthers who is wrong.
Who proved it's a globe? Yay! That's awesome.
Well, here's the thing you got to watch out for now. If he still gets invites to these big platforms, then we know why already, because that's the rhetoric they want. And that's why they won't bring anybody along like Eli or Nathan or anybody else, because they'll show him to be a fool.
Even better.
The thing is, there are platforms out there that are up and coming. There might even be bigger platforms that don't really know what's going on. Like, well, let's just throw Candace Owens a bone, right? But when I say these up and comings, I mean the Killer Priest podcast and maybe the connections that he has throughout, his network. These people, they've been, I feel like, stuck in 2017 where I found you guys. What if I didn't find you guys? My brain would have still worked the same. I would not have, I don't think even without QE, and I know I've said that maybe I would have latched on to the nonsense, but no, I don't think I would have. I think I would have gotten tired of it and gone, this isn't exactly, what I was looking for when I was looking for the truth of everything. I already know that it's not a globe. Like, what's all this extra stuff about? And
I want.
Dang. Go ahead.
I want to quote the QE from 7 years ago. I'm not scared about this. I'm not worried about these globetards. I'm worried about these pretender clowns, flat earthers, and people be always thinking about that people, not about globers. And he said that 7 years ago that every time he will be pointed out the flat earth clowns, you know.
The biggest danger to flat
let me
earth
finish
is
my
the
point.
pretender clown flat earthers. That's what he said.
Yeah. So, so to my point, in bringing up the Killer Priest podcast, I think that there are a lot of people who didn't experience us in the Discord channels and the conversations that we've had that just remain stuck in 2017 in, okay, I know people are lying. Okay, I know that the earth is like maybe flat or something, but I'm not about to sit here and like argue about it. I'm just going to go on about my day. Those people probably have seen the popularity of flat earth through the Dave Weisses and the Witzits, and for some, like my friend Vinny, who has been, you know, our liaison into the Killer Priest podcast, has said, yo, I've been so tired of these guys. They seem so shilly. I can't wait for the guys that have the real information to come out. I think that there are a lot of people with platforms that want to have us on. And I think we're going to see more and more people come here. And we just got to do the right thing, man.
And
well, you gave them a little taste. That taste you gave them was perfect.
And we've got a place to send
big thing.
referrals. What's that? You need a flat earth to take the piss out of? Oh, no worries. This guy called Witsit can help.
I'm talking about the book. When the book comes out, man, it's going to be legendary. And Ted Mann prophesied this 6 years ago.
It is almost cathartic that it hasn't come out until now. It is vastly beneficial to have not already come out, if you know what I mean.
I agree. So it's let all the nonsense come out first, let it run its course, and then Nathan Oakley book.
Yeah, everybody just take a breath.
Blow out your vape.
Let the snow settle.
Let the snow settle. That's good.
Exhale that bong.
And then say, what's up now? What's up now? You just made yourself look like an ass. That's what's up now. If anybody hasn't told you straight up and down. If you're listening to this, which you probably won't, but yeah, what's up now? You made yourself look like an ass. That's what's up now. What the hell did you do that for? Not even close to being genuine. Being full of shit. And that's crazy. So everything else you do is suspect as hell. Right? There you go.
Yeah, but you know, when I turned Jaron on when he went live the other day, and over 800 people still there. There was a few giving him a hard time, but not as many as were still loving on him. Like the chat was flying by. I'm like, wow, what else is it going to take for people to realize who's real and who's not?
Well, those people, I'm sure a lot of his followers got sold a map. Right? They got sold a map, and now that map doesn't seem to work. Because, I mean, Jaron has said it himself. He came to Flat Earth because of the AE map. Right? I don't know if that's what it was, but that's what he says. Right? I'm just going by his words. He said he came to Flat Earth because of the AE map. That's why.
So the flight paths don't work anymore on that they have for the U.S. military for World War II.
If you've got Mercator projections thereafter, you can actually stay with video playing somewhere. Sorry, you dig that out now. Bloody hell!
I thought you had something good there.
Well, I did actually have something to play, which is why I was fiddling with it. But I'll find that first. Oh, I found that. Brilliant. Yeah, check this out. Yeah, the airwave's clear.
You taking the trip to, but I've heard you still believe in the flat Earth. Is that true? No, the Earth, well, at least as far as I can ascertain, the flat Earth doesn't work. Globe, the sphere Earth, perfectly describes the observations that I make. Do you need me to spell it out any clearer to you?
What's very clear is Jaron's a shill. This was meant to go down exactly, precisely in this time frame. They need their globe to pass off the fake alien invasion. This is exactly why they're doing it at this precise time. And like,
Wow. That's Russian vids, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been going ham on on this whole TFE crap.
Who can blame him?
he
Like
said-
us, right?
he
He's been
said
calling
that
these
just
pills.
like that?
Who can blame him? He's basically
Yes.
saying, I was right all along, isn't he? And who can blame him?
No, you
Wait,
can't blame
but did Jiren say that just like that? Or was that cut and put together with...
No, that was unedited. Do you want to hear it again?
Let's
Do you
get
want to
a
hear it
day
again?
on that, Nathan.
Yeah, I'll play again.
You taking the trip to, but I've heard you still believe in the flat Earth. Is that true? No, the Earth, well, at least as far as I can ascertain, the flat Earth doesn't work. Globe, the sphere Earth, perfectly describes the observations that I made. Do you need me to spell it out any clearer to you?
what's very clear is Jiren's a shill.
Oh, that was clear enough, Jared. Thank you.
Thank you very much. See you later.
So yeah, there you go.
You moron. So, how close is Jaren and Witsit? Because obviously, if you're having intimate conversations with your buddies, your reasoning wouldn't. It could never get to where Jaren's is. Like, this is no shock to us, no surprise to us that he would say this. But the problem is, Witsit's been his buddy, and this is coming out. Like, what does Witsit think about this? Is it that they're close, or is it that they're really not?
Well, I asked this question before because I said before this whole thing went down that I've heard the statements from Witsit, I've heard the statements from Jaren, right? Witsit did say that even if I do see the sun, that doesn't mean that it's flat. Where Jaren has basically said what we just heard him say. If I do see the sun, obviously the AE map doesn't work, but the globe most likely proves it.
But he already, like Huey has pointed out, he already knew that since 16?
Yep.
Right, with that, I'm going to say for all of you watching this, maybe after the fact, if you're not a member, but to all of the members, stay tuned if you're watching on an after show, because this is unfortunately where we bid you, live or otherwise, farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you. Smash the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video. Stay tuned if you are watching on an after show.
Put out a little poem.
Huh?
Jaren put out a little poem. Did you not hear it?
Oh yes, I heard the poem. Yes, it's garbage. As a rapper, that poem is garbage. But it's Jared, so hey.
Oh, shoot. I just looked at my clock. It's 9:11. Oh, dear. Everything's a conspiracy.
Crap, it's 10:11 here. You're right.
Oh,
3:11
man.
here.
But he's just falling for the false dichotomy then. I don't get it. Got measurements. Jaren, we have measurements. Why doesn't he like?
He didn't fall for the false dichotomy. He fell for a reification fallacy.
Seems like he fell for
We
everything.
reified the AE map into the world that we're talking about, into the
Yes.
ground.
Yes, well spotted. Yeah, I said that at the beginning of the Uncut and After show that the problem we're going to have to address, I thought, was relinquished but isn't, which is to say QE identified that there's a false dichotomy, but I only ever identified the affirming the consequent on the globe side. QE stepped in about 3 months ago and said, no. The flatties have got an affirming the consequent also for the AE map. And by obvious extension that you've just pointed out, Chocolate, that's a reification fallacy. Correct. So there's people that will, and still are, retaining that reification fallacy in denial of TFE. Ergo, keeping the false dichotomy alive.
Wow.
Yeah, and as long as now the question is, where does he go from here? Because, I mean, he's already. We've just heard him say it. The globe perfectly describes the 24-hour sun, and he believes he's seen it. So,
Look, he said that on day one. He said where I'm standing right now fits the globe perfectly. That was day one when they were supposedly there.
he said what?
He said where I'm standing right now, the point I'm standing at right now fits the globe model perfectly. Or was that Whitson? I could be confusing them.
The point when I'm standing right now fits the
Right,
globe?
where the sun is, where his location is, the data point where he is standing fits the observations of a globe.
Okay. It ignored all the curvature you didn't have to negotiate to get there. And then now you're standing there and that proves curvature?
What about the angle measurement to the sun?
Okay, buddy. I didn't hear him say that, but all right. Oh, my Lord. This gets worse and worse. Better for us, worse for them.
Yeah, but even in there, they were
I'm
talking
having
about.
a good old time with this shit. I don't know about everybody else.
Oh, yeah, it's been a blast. Even when they're there, they're talking about the height of the mountains in the distance. Like, is it not clicking? Height, measurement, flat.
And then there was the whole drone thing too. On top of that, like, I don't know, every aspect of this.
Whoa! What's the drone thing?
I don't know. Duffy came out or some shit. Like he had a drone that was there, right? And I don't know how. I'm not a drone operator. I don't know how drones work. So maybe I forgive me if I speak out of turn. But he had some drone, and I guess he was doing like a demonstration to show people that he is where he is and that he's got the space to fly this drone wherever the hell, right? So he picks up he starts flying the drone and he flies it like back away from the camera or something, and the drone starts beeping. Right, it's doing this beeping thing. I don't really know what that means, but according to
Out of
whatever
range.
video I saw pop up, it was like a proximity warning type alarm, right? Am I right? Anybody?
What, like he's going to hit something?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you're right.
Right. Right. Okay. So like if the drone, like if you're flying your drone and you don't want it to hit a house, it's gonna start beeping, right?
Ah,
So
Oh,
he's
no,
flying it apparently.
your drone is set with
Go
the
ahead.
distance you can fly. If you surpass that, it's going to give you a warning. It knows how far away
Right.
it is from you.
Oh, is that how that works?
Yes.
So it's
Now
not
you can put
it's not like a
proximity
warning.
sensors. You can put sensors on a drone, so if it gets near a wall, it'll go away from it. But I've never seen that.
Okay. So like I said, I could be speaking out of turn, but from the video that I saw, I don't remember because they're popping up all over the place. So I don't know. For some reason, his drone just kept beeping and beeping and beeping for some strange reason. And whoever was making the video made it seem like, I don't know, is there some sort of a structure back there that the thing is beeping for? Who knows? Because there's this whole thing where people think they're not even where they are. They're in a studio, and that whole thing in the back is a giant screen. So, I mean,
wow.
where do you go with that? Right? Because that's what I've been seeing a lot pop up. Like they've got this giant thing that, funny enough, looks like a dome. That's just a big old screen that they've used for movies and shit like that. And you could put somebody in there and make it seem completely like they're in Antarctica or wherever it is that you want them to look like they are. Right? So who knows? But that's just another thing that people are pointing at. Like, this is fakery. This is fakery. That's
What are you talking
fakery.
about?
I don't.
Case closed. TV dome proven.
I mean, maybe. Who knows, man? Who the hell knows at this point?
I think we should wildly speculate about all of this.
I love it. Why can't we be conspirators for a few minutes, man? Like, look, come on. We're flat earthers. They gave it. You try to pass off fake video to people who've literally done nothing but look at fake video for freaking years? Are y'all serious?
I saw that comment.
Are you kidding me? Come on, man. Can't pass this to us and be like, yeah, this is cool. No way. No
But they
way.
want, I think that's
Homeland in
done deliberately.
2024, baby.
I think they did that deliberately because they want the false dichotomy to live on. They want people to say, no, I reject TFE and the 24-hour observation of the sun because I retain my azimuthal equidistant globe projection faith in a flat Earth, as weird as that is, because I deny what they present. Like, well, it wouldn't have confirmed your belief in the azimuthal equidistant globe projection as a flat Earth model anyway. But they want that false dichotomy to live on, it seems. That's my opinion.
Yeah, you might be right. And they might have achieved their goal with because remember, what we've been told ever since we pretty much got into this, right? Whenever we're asking for the curvature of this freaking ground that we're walking on, what are we told? Look up in the sky. Look. Look up. And that's where you find the curvature, right? We've always had to keep it on the ground. And now they've kind of designed a way for everybody to look up in the sky. Look, the sun. So the sun in the sky means curvature on the ground. And now they've got this perpetually, right? Because this is going to be around for a while, which is funny again because they've never gotten this before. But in 2024, we've been able to get this 24-hour sun when this is something that supposedly happens for I don't know how many millennia. So yeah.
They couldn't make up their mind if this was the first time it had been observed or if it had constantly been observed when they were asked. I noticed.
Uh-huh.
I mean, when I say they, I mean McToon. When Brian asked, is it the first time?
I was just going to ask, did anybody see Brian going at it with McToon, actually destroying him?
Yes.
I didn't get to watch that, huh?
Well, he started out with a flat Earth immediately, Toon. He does not fail.
He start off with guns. That's what he did before.
No, he started upholding his observation of the sun using flat Earth elevation angle measurements.
Couldn't make it up.
No, but according to him, how does the 24-hour sun prove that the Earth is spherical?
He just told you. He just told you.
Break that down.
He just told you. If he calls flat Earth elevation angle measurements a prediction based on a globe model and denies that they're measurements at all, then his flat Earth elevation angle measurements proved his globe model he's calling the measurements that aren't measurements, that are actually a model. So it's the affirming the consequent using flat Earth angle measurements, basically.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
That's great.
And Brian actually told him that's not a scientific model. And he said, I don't care what your position is. He did not deny it. So he knows that it's not a scientific model. So he exposed himself there.
So he can concede that it's not a scientific model, but he can't concede that his flat Earth elevation angles actually came from a flat Earth.
No, but he can rumpus them, and when he rumpus them, obviously the moderator stepped in to separate them both because they're both at fault when Brian's winning.
Naturally.
It was an immediate ad hom on Brian, calling him an idiot, telling him he's too stupid, and the moderator did nothing. So finally, Brian turned his attention on the moderator and just ripped the crap out of him. He MF'd him. Yeah, he MF'd him. And then he said, this ain't a platform. This is garbage. This ain't a debate. It's a joke. Oh, he rips him. Now it's cheering like you wouldn't believe because it was deserved. They were sitting there, both him and Toon were like laughing, like trying to mock Brian. But those who know what was going on, we were laughing at them.
Yeah, it was very telling and very useful, like my clip showed off. Anyway, I'm going to bid you all farewell on this note. So another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.